Welcome. Today we are talking about the National Bank and the American system, as well as the events leading up to them. To begin, we will be talking about the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution.
Preview.
In the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain. America was not yet this advanced, and their main source of income was found in international trade with Britain. It was not until Jefferson's Embargo Act of 1807 and the War of 1812 that America began to become more industrialized. The Embargo Act made it illegal to ship goods from America to Britain, and during the War of 1812, the British Navy blockaded the coastline. It was Samuel Slater who established the first successful textile factory in America. Here they produced textiles and thread. More and more factories were built, and thousands of people were able to work in them. This helped America to become a more independent nation. Agriculture in the North and South. In the northern states, families typically had smaller farms because the soil was not ideal for growing. Families only grew what they needed. They would raise livestock and one or two cash crops. Because their crops were smaller, they didn't need slaves. Instead, they had large families to help them. In the southern states, they had large farms called plantations that required slaves to work in the fields. Eli Whitney created the cotton gin, which made it easier and faster to claim the South's major cash crop, cotton. The American system. The American system was first proposed by Henry Clay. At the time, Henry Clay was the Speaker of the House. The main goals of the American system was to unify the nation's economic interests, to create a transportation system, and finally to establish a protective tariff and bring back the national bank. With these ideas to make America an independent country, the North would manufacture goods for the southern states to purchase. This would also help create a common currency between the states and an easier way of transporting goods. The National Road and the Erie Canal. In 1811, the construction began to create a national road that connected the states. The National Road ran from Cumberland, Maryland to Vandalia, Illinois. The National Road was finally finished in 1838. The Erie Canal was proposed in 1808 and finished in 1825. The Erie Canal connected the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. This would make shipping easier from state to state.
The Erie Canal is the biggest construction project in the Western world in the last 4,000 years. Over 300 miles long, dug entirely by hand, and America lacks a single qualified engineer. The United States of America isn't about to let nature stand in its way. Erie Canal opens in 1825, a miracle of engineering, connecting East and Midwest. It's an instant economic superhighway. $15 million of goods a year flow along the canal. Villages along the canal boom into dynamic cities: Buffalo, Syracuse, and Rochester. Goods crash in price, up to 95%. A frontier that had to be self-sufficient can now buy anything they want.
The National Bank.
Preview.
1816, Congress passed the Second Bank of the United States, but only for a 20-year period. Most people agreed that the new bank would benefit all American citizens. The National Bank promised that they would create a common currency that would be accepted nationwide. This would simplify interstate trade because there would be no difference in currency within the nation.
Suddenly faced his most daunting enemy, the Bank of the United States.
The bank war was absolutely the central political controversy of his administration.
The Bank War began in the summer of 1832, when Congress, led by Henry Clay, renewed the bank's charter, even though it wasn't due to expire until 1836. Clay pushed the bill through for political reasons and presented it to Jackson on the 4th of July.
It's not immediately clear that Andrew Jackson has a problem with the bank, but once Henry Clay involves himself in the bank recharter, then suddenly it becomes a battle royal that Jackson has to involve himself in.
Henry Clay was also running for president that year, and he was supported by the president of the Bank of the United States, a man named Nicholas Biddle. Both Clay and Biddle believed they could force Jackson to sign the bank bill. If he didn't, Clay would crush his bid for re-election. But the old general outflanked them.
He's told that there is a cabal between Biddle and Henry Clay, and once Jackson thinks of the bank in those terms, then this is something that absolutely has to be vanquished in his mind. It becomes, in his term, the hydra-headed monster.
The Tariff of 1816. The Tariff of 1816 was proposed by a man named James Madison to eliminate the advantage that foreign goods had over American-made products. The North was all for it and welcomed the tariff, but the same could not be said for the southern and western states. This was because the South did not have an economy where they were dependent on manufacturing, and it caused them to resent the tariff. That's all for now. Have a wonderful rest of the day.